Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild. Tabletop Gaming Guild is all about the experiences and memories that playing board games with friends and family can create. On this episode, we're going to talk about our wish list. Games that we wish to either play that we have or games that we wish to procure in one way or another. But before we start that, we're going to go over games that we have played. Nathan, would you like to go first?
First of all, I have to say, I personally hate the holidays because I have no downtime. I get to play very few games. So I've only gotten one game to the table this week. It's a decent game. It's Moonshine Empire. This is just released game. And Moonshine Empire is actually a lot like what it sounds like. You are a shiner trying to distill booze and deliver it to the tavern and satisfy the tavern owner. So hopefully you impress him enough. When he retires, he gives you the company. And it's basically played. You can use your meeples to place some on these tiles that produce moonshine. Then you have to position vehicles around the board to be able to quickly get that moonshine delivered. And the key of the thing you have to learn for this game is chaining, because you can take one vehicle to a waiting vehicle, get in that vehicle, and go off into the next vehicle to get there quickly.
I played the prototype of that game, and I liked it a lot, so I really want to see what the polished final version is like someday. And when I stop by, we'll get a quick game going of that. But I played 2 main games last week. I played a lot of little games, but actually this one I'm going to talk about is a little game. It's called Taco, Taunt, Attack, Conquer, and Obsess. This one is published by Levity Games. It is a lighthearted take-that style game for 2 to 8 players and takes about 10 to 45 minutes, and I think that's about right for the time frame. I think it's closer to the 10-minute area. You're basically trying to make the best taco possible with the best ingredients and the best shell to get the most points whilst thwarting your opponents, and you're trying to not get thwarted by your opponents. It's a fun game. It's a light game. It's a game that I would definitely play with my daughters. I think my daughters would play with their friends when they came over and stuff. It's on the same level as play level as Cover Your Kingdom or other sort of more social, not quite considered maybe all the way a party game, but games that you play that are lighthearted and just fun. So it's super easy to teach and it fits that niche really, really well. I like the art for it too. It's weird art, but I do like it a lot. Don't know how to explain it. It's basically tacos with little faces on it. I get easily amused by that.
I just wonder how long they spent trying to force an acronym out of that word.
I don't know. I can actually ask them. I've talked to them a lot. Levity Games is also the company that does sticker upgrades for games, and I got the sticker upgrade for Concordia, which is really, really nice, and I just got their sticker upgrade for Dune Imperium, which is also nice. It's a great, inexpensive way to upgrade your game, to give it a little bit more look and stuff, and it's the same reason why I paint miniatures in a game, but I don't paint meeples, so I'm glad they have stickers I can put on it, so it's great. The other game that I played is The Crew Mission Deep Sea. I like it a lot. I'm not sure that I prefer it over the original Crew so much. It's pretty much the same game. The biggest difference is your objectives are variable in the game, so I believe you still have 50 missions, and your missions will have I don't know what they're going to call it, just a difficulty number, and that difficulty number, you're going to flip cards over until you equal that number exactly. And on the back of these cards, they have the player count and a number. So you look at your player count, you look at the number. When it equals the number that you're supposed to have for that, those are the cards that the different players have to get during a game of Crew. The other caveat, like the other game, is you still have these cards that people get, but there's a lot of the later missions, or even I think after 5, they have additional things that you have to do too, which is really nice. It's pretty much the Crew. I don't remember in the Crew, or at least us doing it very much, so I could have been playing the original Crew incorrectly, but I don't remember in the original Crew where when you have these objectives out on the table that you're allowed to pass taking them. So I don't remember that in the original Crew. I did read that in the rules for Deep Sea, so I think it's special to that. Nathan might be able to reiterate whether that's true or not, but basically in Deep Sea, if I'm the captain and I have this row of objectives out, I can actually just literally pass and let other people take them. And I don't remember if there's a rule where it has to be evenly distributed. We did that. We made sure it was always evenly distributed. But if we had one task out, because in Deep Sea Mission, for the first 4 at least, you can have only one mission because there's level 4 objectives.
Yeah, I had the same questions. When I read that, I was this wasn't in the original game, was it? Since you're asking it as well, I'm pretty sure the option to pass was not in the original.
In the Crew Quest for Planet 9, the first version of the game, I've been playing that with my brother off and on, and my understanding of mission distribution is that whoever first, the mission leader has to pick an objective first, and then it just goes around the table from there. And you can't pass. You have to pick something.
Right. And that's right. That's how I remember it. That's how I played it. I've played the crew 150 times at least because we played through 50 missions 3 times. It's more than that because there's some we really were horrible at. But yeah, we did it exactly that way. So Deep Sea threw me off a little bit because I read that and I was like, was I playing the original incorrectly? But it sounds like I wasn't.
I think it's a nice fix in that there's a minor issue in the original one where it is possible to be forced to take challenge that you cannot do. And this somewhat avoids it.
Yeah, and I sort of like the variable objectives, and then I sort of don't. So I sort of like where you exactly know what's going to happen. In the original The Crew mission for Planet 9, you will randomly have these cards come out, but they're going to be a color and a number. That's all they are. In Mission Deep Sea, they're not necessarily a color and a number. They can be, I will get all the 3s, or I won't take any tricks, or things that would have been additional objectives beyond getting those cards in the first game. So it's cool. I think they were going for replayability in it, which I think that would accomplish it, but I think they both have their place and I wouldn't recommend one over the other.
And the important thing is, while some of those challenges you can get are hard, they have a set difficulty and you're drawing until you reach a total equal to the difficulty. So you may have 3 challenges at a 5 difficulty total, or you may have just 2 to hit that 5 difficulty.
Yeah, and it recommends in the rules, which I agree with, that you do not replace the cards that you completed. Like when you complete a mission, you take those cards and put them back in the box. And then you reshuffle your regular deck and you get more so that it's always new. And some of those we flipped, we were very happy we'll never see them again. All right, Dan, what you got?
Well, I've also been pretty busy, unfortunately, in the days preceding the holiday shopping season. So I only have one more game to talk about, and we got it to the table earlier today, and it was actually Concordia. This is an oldie but a goodie for us. Been in my collection for seems like forever. We played with Salt, which is not something we usually do, but we decided to switch it up a bit for this time around. And to summarize, Ken managed to trigger the end game and get the extra 7 points. But then when we counted it out, I was 20 points ahead of him. He ended the game at the right time for me.
Yeah, it's a rubbish game. No kidding. I like Concordia. It's a really good game. How about you, Evan? What do you play?
So I have been busy with the holiday season, so I have not gotten a lot to the table recently. I did play a game of Patchwork on my phone versus the AI, so I guess you could kind of count that. I do enjoy that game. I mean, it's just building your tableau with the quilt pieces and building your little button engine to buy more pieces to build the most complete quilt possible. I enjoy it. It's a good, quick time burner. About the only thing I got to the table. And other than that, I've just been picking away at some zombies painting and working on some terrain for my Wild West stuff.
What did you think of the Patchwork digital implementation? Do you think it was well done?
I think it was very well done. It runs real smoothly, and the AI has multiple different skill levels, so you can tailor it to kind of how good or poor of a player you are. It runs really well. I really like it, and it's I got 15 minutes real quick. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Star Realms app always gets me. That and the Ascension app. You can just sit there and play a game for 15 minutes real quick. You don't have to do anything. You can pause it. You need to do something great. Have you ever played Cottage Garden, which was released after Patchwork, I believe? But Cottage Garden's the same sort of idea, except for it's a little bit more expanded upon. In Patchwork, you're trying to get your button engine going and you have the one board. But in Cottage Garden, you're trying to complete boards and score for boards, which is, I think, a slight step up. I like Patchwork a lot, but if you want just a little bit more, I think Cottage Garden, same designer. I think Cottage Garden would be your thing. I also know you got to play Psycho Killer too.
I did. I got the review done, which is coming here soon. I really liked the game. I didn't have super high expectations going into it, but it plays really well. Like I said in my review, it's not a game that I would pull out all the time, but if you have 4 or 5 people, especially that don't really play games that much, you could teach them in 2-3 minutes and play a good game in 25.
Yeah, it's always a good quality of a game there. So let's go ahead and start off this wish list episode. And I'll just go off and I'll start with my first one, which was on my list last year, and it'll probably be on my list until I die, which is hopefully a very long time from now. But that is Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, Suppressed Memories, Figures, and Tile Collection. This is the one I don't have. And all it actually is from the first edition. If you didn't have the first edition, there was a conversion kit that came with Mansion of Madness. Or if you had the first edition, there's a conversion kit that comes with the base game of Mansion of Madness. So all your collection of your first edition will work for second edition. And what they did is after that, they released these packs that had those miniatures and tiles and stuff in it that came in the first edition. So you can bring them into your second edition game. And I believe there was 2 of them. I got one of them and I didn't get the second one. And for some unknown reason, which I know Mansions of Madness sells like crazy, they did a limited print run of these things. Why? I mean, Mansions of Madness still sells. They still do expansions for it. Seriously. But yeah, that's my, I guess it's a Grail game even. Actually, I have another Grail game in here too that I'll go over in a minute. But we'll just keep in the same order here. So, Nathan, what is a wishlist game from you?
Well, I think I'm going to snipe your other Grail game because it's a game that everybody, I think, wants except for Dan because he's the only one that has it.
Oh, man, I didn't even think of that one, but it's true, yes.
Dan's really happy and proud of the fact that he owns Gloria to Rome. This was also probably on my list. I'm sure this was on my list last year as well. In fact, I think I'm going to have a lot of repeats from last year. I will try to keep that to a minimum. But Gloria to Rome is a kind of crazy game of overpowered cards where you're building up combos and trying to, I forget actually the win conditions, but there are a couple random win conditions on cards. But the primary win condition is influence. Oh, yeah.
If you get to the end of the game and you're not winning instantly, you count influence.
But yeah, it's a game with, you have cards that can cause you to instant win. You can cards that'll steal from other things and have all sorts of wacky powers, and everything seems overpowered and nothing is because everything is. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a really great game. I know we did at least one playthrough of it, and it is not a game you can actually purchase. So I actually don't feel bad about this mentioning it because I mention every time someone brings it up, but there is actually a print and play version on it on BGG. So if you go to Gloria Rome, there's print and play files there too. They're not going to reprint it, so you either pay a ton of money or at least print it out and try it, and then you'll see it's amazing and wish that you were Dan. So with that segue, Dan, what is a wishlist game?
I'm just gonna go down my list, as it were, sort of like from most wanted to least wanted. All of these are not Grail games, I don't think, for me. They're just things that I found that I'm gonna want to eventually pick up, I think. So the first one on my list is a game called Cloud Age. This is a relatively recent release. This is by the great Alexander Fischer. This game is, how do I explain it? You have this little airship meeple that you're moving across the board, and you're collecting resources in form of energy, water, and iron. And these allow you to buy cards, and the cards go into your tableau, and you can also use the resources to upgrade your airship. So it's got his traditional almost engine building mechanics built into the game. The game also has a story mode. I do not know how deep or detailed the story mode is, but it takes place over, I think, 8 or 9 chapters. And there's at least one shift, because in the first chapter of the story, which we did play through, there's a whole mechanic that's just not covered at all. I had to look up I had to read into the rules to figure out how that worked. But it is definitely a cool game. And the reason why I most want to try the physical version of this game is that you have a navigation deck, and this is a deck building mechanic. So one of the phases of the game has you assign a drone to these cards to try to get the 4 basic resources out of them. And the cards are partially obscured by sleeves that have opaque cloud shapes on them. So by looking at the card in the sleeve, you can kind of tell what's there. So you know that there's energy on the card, and you're hoping that there's more energy than others, but you're not sure. So it's a cool way to keep part of the information hidden without revealing all of it or none of it.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty cool game. I'd definitely play that if you get it. How about you, Evan?
So one game that I would love to get a copy of, I missed out on it. For whatever reason, I decided not to grab it when it came out, is Coloma. So it was a Kickstarter game from one of my favorite companies, Final Frontier. So you are in a gold rush town in the Old West, and everyone has to pick their activities that they do, such as mining for gold, building up the city, and a bunch of other things like that. So during your turn, there's a rotating dial on the board that locks off certain areas for actions and opens up certain areas for actions. And everyone simultaneously picks their action they're going to do that round. If a majority of the people pick the same action, the action goes bust and nobody can do that. And then after you figure that out, everyone does their actions and the dial DAO rotates. So next round, there'll be a different set of actions that everyone can do. And then as the DAO goes around, you'll get to high noon where bandits come attack the town, and everyone has to work together to defend off the bandits. It looks like it's so much fun, and I wish I grabbed a copy of it. It probably kickstarted like 3 years ago. I just haven't got around to get a copy of it. I have almost everything else they've ever done, and that's the one that I'm missing.
I'll also play that game if you get it. So, actually, most of my games are not most of them, probably half of my games are out of print that I want. So, I might as well go with the oldest one first. Well, oldest one next. And that is Rex Final Days of the Empire. This one is the Twilight Imperium universe over top of the Dune-style asymmetric gameplay. They changed some stuff up on it, but in essence, that's its roots. And I love Twilight Imperium, and I like the lore of, like, Rex. The whole thing in the beginning of Twilight Imperium is Mechatol Rex is pretty much trashed because of what happens in Rex, the Final Days of the Empire. So it is a game that I've always wanted to play. I like Dune a lot. So this one here is supposed to be a more streamlined version of Dune before Gale Force 9 came out with their new version. And I don't know. That's just one that I'm just going to probably routinely have on this list for a very long time. And like Glory to Rome, someone else here owns the Rex, but it's not Dan this time. It's Nathan.
Yeah, my turn to lord it over you.
And with that, you could go next.
Sure. I want to talk about another game that somebody else already owns. And I'm going to snipe it from the other two people on this call, probably. Shiver Me Timbers. This is a game that really surprised me. It is a really good game from a new company. Pretty sure this is the first game they've designed, and it is phenomenal. It's definitely the best pirate game I've played. It's one of the best sandbox games. It's on par with Zaya. I think it's actually better than Firefly. I love Firefly, but Firefly, part of why it's so good is because of the IP. This does a better job without having an IP attached to it.
Didn't we effectively call that in the pirate episode, like, the best pirate game out there?
I think so. We've talked about this a few times. We've done a playthrough of it, so I don't think I really need to go into how the game's played.
Yeah, I have a copy. It's wonderful. Dan, you're up.
So now that we've established that we're going to meet at some point in a dark alley and beat each other up for board games, I'm not going to pick anything off of anybody else's list, I don't think. So I'm going to be a kind of confrontational one. I'm going to mention, I guess, an expansion. We might as well get to expansion sooner or later, right? So the next game that I want to track down, or expansion really, is the expansion to Maracaibo. Maracaibo is another great game by Alexander Fischer, and this past year, I believe, saw the release of Maracaibo Uprising. And I know that it's got more... In Maracaibo, there's a storyline that you can explore over the course of some number of chapters. I don't know exactly how many because I haven't finished it yet, but the storyline makes the game have really good playability, and this adds more story and more cards and gives you recessed player boards. So sold.
Yeah, good pick. How about you, Evan?
So I'm gonna go with one that I already have, but due to obligations and not having enough time to play as many games as I would enjoy I'm gonna pick one of those, and it's one that I've had for a while, and it has sat there for quite a while. Reavers of Bidgar. So Reavers of Bidgar, I got that when it came out, unwrapped it, looked at the components, put it on my shelf, and it has stayed there since. So it's in the same realm as Champions of Midgar. It's almost the next logical step in there, as opposed to going over the entire Jarl ship. Now you're focused more onto your ship and to raiding, and it's dice drafting, and looks like it's just a fun game, and I want to get it to the table so bad, and alas, that has eluded me.
Yeah, James and I were just talking about this game because last week I happened to see this on sale at my local game store for 40% off, and I picked it up immediately. I have not played it yet either, though. I want to get to the table.
So on to my sad games that I can't own. I am going to go on to the last one that is potentially not ownable. The other ones are, and that is Libertalia. Libertalia is an amazing 2 to 6 player game that it says takes about 60 minutes to play. That is not true. It takes longer. So it's like Terraforming Mars, where it says it takes about an hour or so, but it takes like a decade to finish. But it's still an amazing game. It doesn't take that long. It takes probably about an hour and a half to finish. So not quite an hour. But in Libertalia, you are going to start by shuffling one deck. Everyone has the same deck. And that player is going to be the only player that shuffled their deck. They're going to flip over, I believe, 5 cards, but anyway, a set number of cards. And all these cards have numbers on the top. All the other players are going to pull those cards cards from their deck, and that's their starting hand. So everyone has the same cards with all the same abilities, and each card has a different ability. And they're going to play this on this mat that has, I believe, 6 different places to place crew members. And everyone's going to place them face down. And what's going to happen is there's 2 abilities on a card most of the time. There's going to be a daylight and a nighttime power. During the daylight, it goes in rank order, and then night, it goes in reverse order. And you balance these out. And basically what you're trying to do is in each of these locations, there's a pool of booty that you can get. And if you win that area, you get to pick the prize first. And they're all random and they all have different values. And some of them have cursed idols, which cause negative points for you. Actually, you get more than 6 or 5 cards because there's 6 slots. You get more cards than you play because you have a couple left over when you go into the next round. So maybe it's 10. I don't know. Been a long time, but it's a very good game. And it's really interesting trying to keep track of what cards people played. Some cards have abilities where they come back to your hand. It's a really, really fun game. It's another one of those games that has a ton of depth to it, a ton of thinking that you can do in the game, but you don't have to. It's super easy to teach, and a person could just play it and have fun, or they can try to like strategize and consider like what other people have. And it's just a really, really well designed game that I'm super sad is out of print. I think it mainly has to do with how they named the cards and the art and stuff, because it was a little but the game itself is amazing.
Yeah, this was also on my my longer list. Ones that I could talk about. I really enjoyed this game. I played it a couple times, and it's just sad that it doesn't exist or is not really attainable. I also have one that I'm pretty sure is not attainable and may never be really attainable. Cosmic Frogs, which is certainly not on anybody else's list. But this is a game that came out last year to no real fanfare. I never saw it in any stores, never saw it online for sale. I don't know what happened. It is not available anywhere. But this game really does sound cool to me. It's kind of got the, again, like Glory to Rome, it's got the like ridiculously overpowered characters. I guess it's a little bit closer to Cosmic Encounters, where you play as these giant frogs with obscenely powerful abilities that are eating up the galaxy, basically. And you're fighting to, devour as much of the galaxy as possible. You can't die, but you can be kicked out of the galaxy and get a new power. You come back as another interdimensional frog. And it's just the whole crazy, wacky, swing of insane powers that really seems fun.
Yeah, we talked about this game in the past. I still think it looks crazy. But yeah, on to you, Dan.
All right, the next game on my list has not yet been mentioned during the wishlist portion of this episode, but was mentioned during the introductory portion of this episode. The Crew Mission Deep Sea is on my wish list. I, of course, already own Mission Planet 9, the first version of the crew. Have not finished playing the 50-some-odd missions that are in that box, but I do enjoy the game a lot, and me and my brother have managed to suss out something that vaguely resembles a strategy that works some of the time, I will say at least, enough of the time to progress as much as we have, that's for sure, but it's not like we haven't run across the odd mission where we fail like 5 times in a row and decide to give up and, come back to it at a later date. But it is a really strong cooperative trick-taking game that I will definitely enjoy sinking my teeth into more of.
You haven't finished the 50 missions yet?
No.
I think I finished them twice, and then a little bit more like random missions beyond that.
When we have time for a game, we like to get something middleweight to the table, so we actually don't have time set aside for something that's just like a small card game.
Yeah, but when I first got this game, I think we did like 10 to 20 missions in a sitting.
Fair.
All right, how about you, Evan?
The next thing I'm going to mention is, again, something that I have, and I haven't got time to play yet. And it also is one that we talked about, but just before we started recording. That would be Nemesis. So this game, it looks like it is probably one of the best Alien-style games. A lot of air quote around that.
You don't have to air quote that. Everyone knows that Alien stole the IP from Nemesis, right?
Yeah. That's it. So in the game, everyone wakes up out of their pods, and one of the crew members is dead right there. And from the hibernation sickness, you can't remember exactly the layout of the ship, so you have to figure out where the ship is going, what's happening, and have to try and escape. And there are so many things that are working against you, and you have to work cooperatively up to a certain point, and you have a primary objective. You also have a corporate objective that can also put you into not friendly terms with everybody else as you try to survive on your own. So I like the semi-cooperative nature of it. The pieces look great. The miniatures are phenomenal in it. it looks like it's going to be so much fun, and I can't wait to actually play it here. Hopefully we will do that soon.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to playing this game. It looks amazing. And I did read through the rules on it and did a little scenario myself, and it's pretty cool.
I'm guessing the sequel is also on your wish list, or will be once you play this and really enjoy it.
Probably.
The sequel being Nemesis Lockdown.
I can't imagine myself not liking it. Like, everything just looks so amazing, and the reviews for it are just out of this world.
The miniatures are also amazing in it. Can't wait for you to paint those.
They'll go right near the top of the list, top adjacent.
I'm going to talk about a game that I can get in the future. Actually, I think I can get it right now. But that is Brian Boru, High King of Ireland. That is going to be a 3 to 5 player game that takes about 60 to 90 minutes to play. This game, you're going to play Brian Boru, and you're going to strive to unite Ireland under your domain, securing and controlling through might, cunning, and matrimony. Join forces to fend off Viking invaders, build monasteries to extend your influence, and gather support in towns and villages throughout the land. To become the High King of Ireland, you need to navigate a web of shifting alliances, outmaneuver your enemies, and grab history by the reins. If it actually does pretty much what its flavor text says, I'm all in. The game itself, its art reminds me of another game that I really want to get, but I was going to mention is Inish. It's sort of like reminiscent of that, and that is a area control style game, which is not quite like this. And that is as far as this game gets. The cover art looks about the same as Inish, but when you get into the game itself, the art's a little meh, but I can live with that for an awesome game.
I would go a little worse than meh on the art, personally. But
yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, this seems sort of like plain early Euro style art to me. However, I'm intrigued because like the description mentions trick taking and as well as like card drafting and I mean area majority and influence, which is like totally your jam. Like if a game includes area control, you're usually all about it.
This thing has all the elements that I would love. So in lieu of not being able to get Inish because they can't seem to actually put that thing in print for more than 3 seconds, this is definitely a very strong contender for a game that I would really, really, really love to play. So that's mine. How about you, Nathan?
Next one is Sleeping Gods. And I think this may have been on my wish list last year. It was not available yet at that time. Obviously it is now. I still have not had a chance to pick it up. But this is the newest Ryan Lockett. And Ryan Lockett has phenomenal art style. You see a Ryan Lockett game, you know it's a Ryan Lockett game. And this is a game that incorporates, exploration elements and story. And, it's just, I like those combinations. I love exploring. And adding a story to that when it works well, really in my wheelhouse, really what I look for. And, his earlier games that I've played, Above and Below in particular, didn't quite nail the story. And from what I hear about this game, Sleeping Gods absolutely nails the story element.
Yeah, that one was on my list of wish list games, so just say that I want that game too. So I won't talk about it, but yes. And it's another campaign game. I mean, how many campaign games can I have? And the answer is one more.
At least one more, right?
At least one more.
Okay, the next one on my list is a game that I was able to try at some point on Tabletop Simulator, and both me and my brother enjoyed it enough for me to add it to my wish list for eventual procurement, and that was Gaia Project. Before trying Gaia Project on Tabletop Simulator, I had never played it or its sister game, Terra Mystica. I'd never played Gaia Project or Terra Mystica prior to our foray, but we played it only twice. We found it to be pretty meaty. So, yeah, Gaia Project.
Yeah, Terra Mystica and Gaia Project. I want to play either of them, and I've never played either. I feel sort of sad because it's like, I think it's almost like a staple game you have to play.
Yeah, well, Terra Mystica, I find, is a game that you have to play it a couple times. It builds on, every time you play it, the more enjoyable it gets. I assume Gaia is the same.
All right, Evan, on to you.
All right, so one that I came up with that I don't have but would actually like to get a copy of eventually is The Thing, Infection at Outpost 31. So plays 48 people, and if you have ever watched the classic horror movie The Thing, it's basically that in a board game. A hidden traitor, they're trying to survive and get out of the outpost in Antarctica, and the thing is slowly infecting the crew there at the research station. So yeah, I did not know that when this game came out. I missed it. They just did a reprint of it not that long ago, so So they fixed up a couple small things in it, and it's actually readily available again. And I would like to get a copy of it because it just seems like a good, fun game for, especially if you can get a higher player count.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that game. That game really wanted, like, it's a cooperative game, but not really, because you can get infected and then you have to, your win conditions change. You're trying to get on the helicopter and everyone else is trying to make sure the thing doesn't get on the helicopter. So there's a lot of social deduction in it, but yet it's not like the social deduction games I hate, like Werewolf. It has a lot of meat to it. There's a lot of different elements you can do to suss out, like, if someone is the thing or not, and a lot of things you can keep going or how much you want to keep going because you're going to be wasting time. I think it's going to be a great game. Another game that you have on there that if you pick it up, I would definitely play it with you.
Yeah, and it seems like the rules are not heavy and simplistic game to play. So I think it's one that with that higher player count, you can just kind of almost pick up and run with it.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I haven't read the rules completely to it. I know about it. But from what I understand it's going to be an easy game to teach.
I was just actually listening to a review of this game, and from what I've heard for some of the reviews, it does suffer from the same thing that Shadows over Camelot does, where potentially the bad guy could do nothing the entire game other than actually help and still win, and everybody else loses. Because all the bad guy has to do is be on the helicopter at the end. Hopefully they fix that in the newer edition, but I don't know. I haven't played the game myself, so I don't know how true that is.
Maybe we'll just have to get a copy and find out.
I agree with that assessment. So my last wishlist game for me, because Nathan stole one of mine, is Dune Imperium Rise of Ix, the expansion for Dune Imperium. So this game, Dune Imperium, is basically a worker placement game with a really cool deck building element to it, where you're racing to get to 10 points first. And once someone gets to 10 points, the game ends. However, you can bump a little bit above that, and whoever has the most points wins. If there's a tie, it's spice, and so on. Really good game, really fun game. It's amazing. Each player has like light asymmetric powers that they get with their house. Just really well done. I'm not even like the best Dune fan in the world, although the Dune movie was amazing. But I just love this game and everything they put together for it. So I'm very excited about this expansion. I was sort of hoping, which I don't always hope for, but I'm sort of hoping that this expansion would have gave it to a 5-player count, but it doesn't, which is fine. It does add 3 new great houses. You have a technology intervention track that you can get that adds a tactical strategy to the game. You can get dreadnoughts to do like crazy stuff in the game. So it has an overlay for the existing board. So it'll be interesting. Apparently it corrected a couple little things with the game that I really didn't notice. And I guess I did. I guess I noticed that the upper actions on the board, some of them are a little weak. So they just strengthened them up a little bit. Like I never really ever used, what was that? You go there and you get 5 money or something, 3 money or something. And like, what the heck? That's like if there's nowhere available. Why the heck would I do that? I might as well just cash my cards in early and buy something and then do that. But yeah, it's a wonderful game. Super excited about this expansion. I believe it comes out really soon. Waiting for Dan to give me the call that it's there. You know, that sort of thing. He's shaking his head yes. Yeah, yep. I'm seeing a yes. I've turned my head so it became a yes, and that's what we're going with. All right. So Nathan, what's your next one?
I am gonna cheat and talk about 2 games. Since Evans talked about The Thing, I want to talk about 2 similar games. One which I own, one I don't yet. Dark Moon is the one I own. I have not had a chance to play. This is another social deduction game that's very meaty, and it has some random elements. It has dice rolling where you secretly roll dice and you use those dice to try to fulfill actions. So the bad person, or whatever they call it in this game, I don't remember, can hide behind just saying, oh, I just rolled really poorly. So it makes it a little bit easier for them to hide. But other people can look really guilty by just rolling badly and not having a choice. The other one I want to talk about that's also a similar game is Unfathomable, which is the new, basically it sounds like it's a reskinning of BSG, Battlestar Galactica, with a more Mansions of Madness feel. So basically you're in this ship being attacked and you're trying to keep the ship afloat, and you're cooperating to do that. And apparently at 2 points to the game you can have so you can have some people that start as bad, and then halfway through the game you may have another person who's cultist or whatever that's working against you.
Cthulhu, win.
Yeah, that game has been like exploding on my Facebook feed for ads.
The only thing, though, is since I already have Battlestar Galactica, I'm not sure I want to buy it. But this definitely has the advantage of being easier to get to the table. Battlestar Galactica is hard to teach, and so generally, if people only want to play this with people who've played it a lot and they don't have to teach it to.
That Dark Moon game was, at one point in time during its pre-development, Battlestar Galactica Express, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. In fact, they still list that as their an alternate name, yeah. Right. I'm sure they realized they would get in trouble if they kept that as the name.
Right.
Now, this one's published by Fantasy Flight Games, but I still don't get why it's so expensive. I guess Fantasy Flight really raised their prices a bit, and it does have miniatures in the game, but it doesn't have that many. But you're looking at $90 for that game, Unfathomable. Some companies are definitely doing it, like Fantasy Flight is definitely doing it, because if you look at some of their latest titles, they're going above 100.
Right, and I think some companies are still trying just to eat the extra cost without increasing price, but some of them are just going ahead and increasing the price to cover the cost.
And some companies have unique ways of keeping their costs low too. Like Stonemaier Games still can make a really good profit and have a super high quality game. And if I buy a Stonemaier game, I know I'm getting a super high quality game for a good deal sort of thing. Or, we could always have another Mechs versus Minions.
And Fantasy Flight isn't the juggernaut it used to be, so they can't do things their cost has probably gone up because of that.
Well, they're owned by Asmodee, and they've been ripped apart a lot.
Yeah.
Which Asmodee just got bought by a gaming company, which makes sense. But most of the people buy Asmodee only as a investment, because Asmodee is more of a distributor than a game manufacturer, really. But they do produce a ton of games.
Yeah, I really like a couple of their game ports that they have done for apps. It's like Terraforming Mars. I really enjoy getting to play that, because now I can actually get a game in the appropriate time scale that they call for of an hour.
Yeah, Asmodee Digital is really, really good. I like them. I'm actually hoping they make a digital version of Terraforming Mars Ares project, because I think that would be solid. It's perfect for digital adaptation. So I believe that is Dan next.
All right, since Nathan was the first one to cheat, I don't feel wrong with mentioning two games myself, because these two games have already been mentioned by other members of the panel. So swindling their way onto my personal wish list is the game Shiver Me Timbers for some reason. For some reason, it's just kind of sitting there. And the other one that happens to be sitting there is actually Dune Imperium Rise of Ix expansion. It's not like I've played Dune Imperium a ton. I mean, I've got less than like half a dozen plays under my belt, but I'm hard pressed to deny the awesomeness that is more Dune Imperium. So
on a big game like that, having like 6 or 7 plays in it is pretty good in the short period of time. I'm like, you're talking about like what, 6 months?
I mean, over the past year. I don't know.
Still, that's not too bad. I get one game maybe in of Twilight Imperium 4th edition, and it's still a top 10 game for me. So how about you, Evan?
So I'm going to take the high road and not mention Shiver Me Timbers here, as I scratch something off of my list here. Pay no attention.
Evan, for the record book, I'm adding Shiver Me Timbers to your list, so we're going to talk about Shiver Me Timbers with you next year.
Okay, so I'm going to mention, I already mentioned the company earlier when I would mention Coloma, but Final Frontier's Merchant Cove. So I have that. I kickstarted that when it came out, and I can't wait to get that to the table. So it falls into their fantasy line that they did, and all the games that they have in that line, the stories interconnect. So this one is, I think I've mentioned it a couple of times on here before, but you play as the merchants into the adventuring town, and each person plays a different merchant, and you have to provide your wares to the adventurers, and that's how you score your points. But each merchant and their boards are completely different, so it's completely different for everybody to play. Just their stuff is very polished and really good, so I can't wait to get that to the table one of these days here soon. I would like to mention also Shiver Me Timbers. I just can't do it.
I mean, obviously, I was sniped on Nemesis and Rise of Ix, so you can put that on the retrospective for next year for me.
Yeah, Nemesis for me too.
One that's not so much a wish list to buy, but a wish list for somebody to actually teach me the rules of this game, because I don't want to read this rule book. It's Anachronism.
Yeah, I don't want to read that rule book either.
That's like 100 pages of rules there. It's like, I'm not reading that. It's just sitting on my shelf.
I remember reading that rule book twice in order to teach it to Ken. I could probably stomach that, but I'd need to roll the rule book one more time before I did, though. So I will make another footnote to my list as well. because it'll be interesting to revisit this one in a year's time. So before the shutdown occurred, Flying Frog Games announced not one but 2 expansions to Fortune and Glory. This is the glorious coffin-sized monstrosity that is Indiana Jones in a box. Indiana Jones in a box is Fortune and Glory. They announced 2 expansions, Temples and Treasures and Lair of the Spider Queen, before COVID hit. So both of these expansions have been on hiatus for close to 2 years now. At one point in time, they did go up for pre-order, and I did actually already pay for my pre-orders. I haven't canceled those pre-orders, despite the fact there's no sign that these things are coming anytime soon. I'm hopeful that they will show up in the next year, but if they don't, I will not be surprised.
Yeah, that was a fun game. We did a playthrough of that. Dan ran that. It was good. Now, the game we did play had rules adaptations to it, right? If I remember right.
What do you call it? I was borrowing a couple things out of the comprehensive rule book on the Geek.
My last one here. So it's actually going to be a miniature game that I'm going to mention. So March of 20, I had finished up a project to bring, I can't remember, is it CosCon or SipCon, whichever one that happens in the spring. After painting 700 15mm Civil War guys, building a 6x4 board for the Battle of Antietam, basing all of them, getting them all printed up, getting the rules laminated, everything. We all know what happened around that time.
For the record, for the listening audience who might not be familiar with CosCon was canceled that year due to the COVID shutdown.
So ever since then, I have had 2 giant totes and this large monstrosity of 2-inch insulation board cut in half in my basement waiting to be played. And it sits there, and I walk past it almost every day when I go into my basement, and it just reminds me of how much I really wanted to play this game. And now we're coming up on 2 years, and I still haven't got to take it back to the con, but hopefully I'm hoping that come this fall for SibCon, I can run it.
Okay, so Evan, sorry you didn't do our wish list game last year, so I don't have no information for you, so we don't get to roast you. Sorry. James, apparently last year on your wish list, you had the following: Twilight Imperium, Prophecies of the King expansion, Last Light, Mansions of Madness, Suppressed Memories, Everdale, Rex, The Final Days of the Empire, Inish, and Gonshon Clever. How many of these games have you acquired or still in your collection? Do you have any commentary?
Well, Nathan just got me the expansion for Twilight Imperium 4th edition, so I got that. Nathan also got, this is a pretty repetitive thing here. Nathan also got me Everdale, I believe, too. Inish, I have yet to be able to get it while it's in stock, and I will not pay over $100 for it. Rex, out of print. And so is
still on your list.
Still on my list. And Mansions of Madness, still on my list. That expansion, Suppressed Memories. So it'll probably be there for a very long time. But the games that I could get, I did. Am I missing one?
Last Light. What happened with that one?
Oh, okay. So Gonshon Clever, I got to play it and I was like, so I didn't end up getting it. It's not bad. It just wasn't all I thought it would be. So at least, I mean, if someone asked me to play that game, I would play it, but I'm not getting it for my collection, sort of thing. Last Light is not out yet. The Kickstarter has not started for that. That game is designed by Roy Cannaday, and I don't remember, it's Renegade Games or one of them is going to be kickstarting it. And I did hear a little bit more buzz about it. What's that?
Was that delayed or something? Or
I can only guess that it was. I mean, I believe it's on Tabletop Simulator right now, Last Light, and it was like last year. So my guess is they just keep delaying it. It has a pretty unique production for the planets because you actually have planets and stuff on there. So it could even be like trying to figure out how to do those in a cost-effective manner.
The publisher is Grey Fox Games, and it still does not have a year that it's being published in. So
yeah, because the Kickstarter hasn't even started. So I don't know what's up with it. I'm definitely going to back that game, even if it ends up to be rubbish, apparently. But I'm definitely going to back it because it looks amazing, and I have faith in Roy Cannaday because he actually likes a lot of the same games I like. Like, he's a big Twilight Imperium fan. He loves Rhino Hero. He likes all these types of different games that I like. So in fact, I think we're almost like on par for the same stuff. So I think that he would bring together the elements that I probably would like the best in a game, or at least have that fun factor there that I think would make the game the most engaging. So I'm super excited about that one. Not out yet.
All right, moving right along. Nathan, according to my records, your games from last year included Mansions of Madness, Lord of the Rings Journey into Middle Earth, Cosmic Frogs, Takanoko, Imperial 2030, Kingdom Death Monster, and Pandemic Legacy Season 0. How did your year turn out for these games?
Yeah, how did Kingdom Death Monster go?
Obviously, I'm never actually going to get that, but it would be just really cool to get it. I did get 3 of them. I picked up Takanoko. I picked up, my memory is so terrible. Which one you, first one you mentioned was
Mansions?
Yeah, Mansions of Madness I have, and the last one you mentioned,
Pandemic Legacy.
Yes, I
Season
played
0.
that. I've played all of them. I really enjoyed all of them. As far as the rest, that obviously Cosmic Frog I talked about, can't get it. Imperial 2030, I only didn't mention it this year because I knew I mentioned it last year, and it's an older game. It's kind of expensive and a little bit hard to find because it's an older game. It's also, I kind of slowed down on buying as well, and it's kind of dropped a little bit on my desire list just because I have games like it. What else did you mention?
Lord of the Rings Journey into Middle-earth, I think was the only one you didn't cover. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I got that one as well. So there's 4 of them I got.
Have you played that one yet?
I have not had a chance to play that one yet.
That one's on par with Mansions of Madness on the app integration level because it has like these encounter things that are similar to that. So I'm interested in seeing and they said it's more app integrated. So I'm interested to see what you think when you play it. Along the same lines as Descent Journey into the Darkness, the new one of that one is also fully app driven. Well, you still have a board and miniatures, but it's pretty much app driven.
And I guess last but certainly not least, you guys get to roast me. My list from last year was First Class, All Aboard the Orient Express, La Granja No Siesta, The Expedition to New Dale, Arkham Horror Dead of Night, that's an expansion, Res Arcana, Ardia the Path We Dare Tread, and Glenmore Chronicles 2. So of these games, I have acquired all of them except Ardia the Path We Dare Tread. So I did acquire Ardia the Path We Dare Tread. It was a game I was cautiously optimistic about. When it finally launched on Kickstarter, I took a look at the campaign, like the Kickstarter campaign, and the kind of game that they were selling. And I determined for myself that I probably wasn't going to spend the time to sink my teeth into it. Not that it's not a bad game. It came out fine.
It's not delivered yet.
No. I'll let you know how it is when it gets delivered.
All the others I mentioned, I did at one point acquire. I think all of them except maybe one are staying in the collection. So the only issues I had in the Arkham Horror expansion had the problem with a lot of co-op expansions in which it added more scenarios that were more difficult than the scenarios in the base game box, I think. Though there might be one scenario in the base game box that's as difficult. And so far of the 6 different scenarios that we have access to, we've only managed to win 2 of the 6, and one of them only by the skin of our teeth. So I'm probably not going to go in for more Arkham Horror content because it's just more difficult. And yeah, we have enough of it. Other game that might be leaving collection soon is actually The Expedition to New Dale. It's a good game. I like it. But I feel like once I've played it the 8 times to complete the story mode, I'd be done with it. Expedition to New Dale is like the board game grown up, more complicated version of Alexander Fisher's design for Oh My Goods, the card game. He uses effectively the same engine with more wingdings and boopy bobs, technical terms.
Yeah, I liked Oh My Goods. I thought that was a good game.
That was our retrospective section.
All right. So I believe Evan has our nonsensical game for today.
I do. I did some research, and today, since we were talking about wishlist games, we should talk about some highly rated games that are out there. So I scoured and found the last few years of winners of the Golden Geek Best Board Game Award. And what I'm going to do is give you the year, a small snippet of the description on BGG, and see if you can name that game. So close out a BGG if you got it open, and we'll play this to whenever we have a clear winner, because this could either go really awesomely or terribly. So we'll find out.
Speaking of which, isn't Golden Geeks opening up their best podcast nominations soon?
Well, I mean, we naturally already won that one, so it's not that we have to mention it.
Yeah, they're the ones that win that have really good guilds, basically, on there, and we really don't.
It's in our name.
Yeah, I guess Tabletop Gaming Guild, vote for us.
So I am going to start here. Let me pick a random number. All right. So we're going to go with 2012. The little snippet I'm going to read: a game of blank places you in control of a vast interstellar civilization competing for success with its rivals. You explore new star systems, research research technologies, and build spaceships with which to wage war. There are many potential paths to victory, so you need to plan your strategy accordingly to the strengths and weaknesses of your species, while paying attention to the other civilization's endeavors.
Who goes first?
Well, whoever wants to go first, doesn't matter to me.
Twilight Imperium.
All right.
I'm sorry, my guess is Eclipse.
Yeah, that was my other one. It's one of the two.
I'm trying to think of the other 4X game, but I think no, it's too late. It wouldn't have been out yet in 2012. The 4X card game that was not great that I got rid of. So it's one of those two. I'm going to go with Twilight and Imperium.
It's actually, before he says, I'm thinking it's probably Eclipse, because Eclipse is newer than Twilight Imperium, but I'm sticking with Twilight Imperium.
2012, the winner of that award was Eclipse.
Yeah, because Twilight Imperium is a very old game. Eclipse is not. So, good job, Dan. Good job.
Which edition?
No, well, I mean, the only thing I could think of is...
I think that would have been the first edition, I think.
Of Eclipse, yes. Eclipse only has 2 editions. They have the first edition Eclipse and the Kickstarter. Third edition of Twilight Imperium, I think was much later than 2012. Second edition was the 90s or a little late 90s or early 2000s, if I'm remembering my times right. But yes,
I
sorry.
grabbed that one because I figured that those were probably going to be the 2 that we're going to pick and hopefully throwing somebody off. But all right, so Dan is in the lead here. So we are going to go.
I will guess. I'll guess first on this next question to give you guys the advantage.
Okay. I see how this goes.
So we're going to go just a couple years ahead to 2014. Players are merchants of the Renaissance trying to buy gem mines, means of transportation, shops, all in the order to acquire the most prestige points.
Oh dear God, that could be anything. What year was this again?
2014.
I know what the game is. I don't know the name. I'm trying desperately to remember the name of the game.
Well, Dan volunteered to go first, so
yeah, Dan, go.
Yeah.
I did not realize this game was this old.
Give me the description one more time.
Players are merchants of the Renaissance trying to buy gem mines, means of transportation, shops, all in order to acquire the most prestige points.
Yeah, I don't think there are gem mines in the game, but I'll mention Marco Polo.
Okay. Oh, there's a lot of thinking going on here.
Well, I'm going to go with one. It doesn't have any of that, but they keep going over prestige points in it. No, I can't remember the name of the game. All right, Nathan, if I can't think of it by the time Nathan thinks of a game.
I feel like I really should know this, but...
Take a wild guess. That's what I ended up doing.
I know it's wrong, but let's say Merchants of the Middle Ages.
It's not that game. That game is not that good.
Probably a little older.
I can't think of the name of the game that I'm going to go with, but I'm just going to go with Splendor.
James got it correct.
Oh,
I thought it might be. I thought it might be because I remember the fluff has nothing to do with the actual game.
Where's the transportation come in?
Nothing.
I don't know.
You're collecting chips in the game. So in Splendor, it's a race game. You're basically trying to get so many points as you go along. And basically how you're doing that is you have a couple different options. You can pick gems, which are poker chips.
We all know how to play, Sven.
And you get the cards.
It makes sense.
And you can get the Renaissance nobles, but where's the rest of the stuff?
You got me.
As soon as you said prestige points in 2014, I was like, it has to be Splendor.
The thing that the gem, because all the tiles that you're trying to collect, it's like all pictures of gems. I guess maybe transportation, because a couple of them have like camels and stuff like that. Maybe that's what they're referring to, but I mean, that's a loose grasp at best.
I suppose the logic is you're doing mines, but none of them actually, I don't think any of them actually show, maybe one of them shows mines on them.
Well, the cards themselves are actually, you're getting, their cards represent like mines, like you have those gems now permanently available. That's like the only thing, because you get those discount the other cards you get, so that would be it.
I mean, it's a great game. I do enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a really light game.
All right, so we're going to go a lot older on this one. 2007. So each daimyo has the same 10 possible actions to develop his kingdom and score points. Each round, the player decides which of their actions to be played out and in which of their provinces. If battles ensue between opposing armies, the unique cube tower plays the leading role. Dan would like to say something.
Yeah, Shogun.
Yeah, this is Shogun.
You all are correct.
I get extra point for saying it first, though, right?
You can get 1/10 of a point, right?
I will give you an extra half a point, but I have to deduct it because it wasn't your turn. Let's see here.
This is only one of like 2 games or 3 games ever that have involved a cube tower. And I once looked into specifically cube tower games. So
there was one I played at Nathan's house that I really liked too.
Wallenstein.
Wallenstein. Yeah, I really liked Wallenstein a lot. It was a really great game. And then they had Shogun with a little cube tower, and I was like, oh my god, I need that game, and I never got it.
Well, Shogun is largely a re-theming of Wallenstein. So
Shogun is largely a retheming of Wallenstein.
Yeah, it's another reason I want it because I like that theme better.
All right, so we're going to go into the next year, 2008. In blank, you're a farmer in a wooden shack with your spouse and little else. On your turn, you get to take only 2 actions, one for you and one for your spouse, from all the possibilities you'll find on a farm. Collecting clay, wood, or stone, building fences, and so on. You might think about having kids in order to get some more work accomplished, but first you need to expand your house. And what are you going to do to feed all the little rugrats?
Agricola.
So, yeah, it's Agricola.
It is Agricola, but it's not main Agricola. It's Agricola.
All creatures great and small.
Oh, man, what's all great? Yeah, great and small, the 2-player version, I think.
He's like, you're all wrong.
So it is a regular Agricola.
Yay!
I knew it right away, but I hesitated in case hopefully somebody else didn't know it. I didn't want to give it away.
Which Agricola is still my favorite game out of that line. I mean, I do like Feast for Odin more than I like Caverna, but Agricola is definitely my favorite still because it's super mean.
Yeah, it's one of the few ones on this list that I haven't got a chance to play yet.
Oh, we'll play it.
Let's see. Maybe we should find a harder one here.
All the ones I got points on were too easy, huh?
Yeah, that's the ones Nathan can get. No kidding. I'm just kidding.
I never said those words.
I don't know
All
if
right.
you've got them there on your screen, but you can go to nominees too. Make it seriously difficult.
So we're going to go back to the first year that they did this, 2006. And once upon a time, 1289, to strengthen the borders of the Kingdom of France, King Philip the Fair decided to have a new castle built. For the time being, blank is but a humble village. But soon, workers and craftsmen will be flocking by the cartload, attracted by the great prospects. Around the building site, a city is slowly rising up.
I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but I'll wait. Wait, what year did you say?
This one in 2006.
I want to say Between Two Pillars, which is wrong, but I'm going to say that. That's my answer. No, it's not Between Two Pillars. What's the Kent Foley?
Pillars of the Earth.
Pillars of the Earth. Yeah, Pillars of the Earth. That's what I'm saying. Which you're building a cathedral, and it didn't mention cathedral, so it's obviously wrong. So, Dan?
I got nothing on this one.
All right, Nathan, you gonna take a steal?
I think it's too early for it, but Castles of Burgundy?
You are all incorrect.
Castles of Burgundy?
Yeah, it's way too early.
Yeah, Castles of Burgundy looks like it should be from then.
The game in question here is Kalis.
Oh, I never played Kalis. That's a game I've always wanted to play. All right, that was a good one.
All right, so we're going to jump ahead here to 2011. So Blank is a game that abstractly recreates a tiny portion of ancient history, the ponderous approachment of an ice age, and what that entails for living creatures trying to adapt to the slowly changing Earth.
What year was it?
2011.
Evolution, Ice Age. Revolution.
Yeah, it's not Evolution. What is it?
Yeah, they made it Evolution, Ice Age, but I don't think that was the description.
There was Evolution, Climate Change.
Oh, Evolution, Climate. But that's like 2000 or...
Yeah, that's
2019 or somewhere right around there. It's wrong. I'm wrong. There's also that GMT game. When that come out?
That was also later. That's what is the name of that game? Similar title. Dominant Species.
Yeah, Dominant Species is what I'm thinking.
It's not that, I don't think. Could be? Wait.
Just guess it and be wrong.
What year?
2011.
Stone Age. No, I'm gonna go with Dominant Species.
Oh
yeah,
no.
I don't think it's Stone Age. I don't have any leads on this one. What is it?
So Nate is correct. It is Dominant Species.
Oh, I gave you that one. I gave
you. You did!
I
was going for Stone Age before you said that.
Yeah. I was like, oh wait, I said Evolution. I was like, no, it's Dominant Species. I'm pretty sure. But oh well.
All right, so we're going to jump into just a couple of years here. The score right now is James at 3, Nate at 3, Dan at 2. So it's a tight one.
Okay.
So 2018. I'm going to give it a short title because this one gives it really away in the description. So Blank is a game of adventure and war in which 2 to 4 players, 1 to 6 with the expansion, players battle for control of a vast wilderness. I will give you a little more and say it is a asymmetric game.
Or a vast wilderness with expansion making solo available.
This is Root, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna say I didn't come out top of my head until he said it. So how about you, Nathan?
Right. No, that's what I thought it was first.
So you and Nathan both say Root. I say Tor, which is Root backwards. I'm gonna go with vast wilderness. Is gonna be Root.
I was actually thinking of it before you even said asymmetric, but I guess it's kind of cheating to play the game and wait for other people to say things.
Oh, I'm gonna go with Everdale, which is wrong. So go.
No.
Say your Root.
It's Root.
Sadness. Now Dan's tied with me.
Oh, I think we'll go with this one. So we're going to go with 2015 here. All right, so I'm going to jump a little at the beginning and a little bit in the end of this description here. So 2015. It is a cooperative campaign game with an overarching story arc played through 12 to 24 sessions. Each month in the game, you will have 2 chances to achieve what that month's objective. If you succeed, you win and immediately move to the next month. If you fail, you have a second chance with more funding for beneficial event cards.
Pandemic Legacy.
What
Maybe
year?
season-
'Cause which
That'd
Pandemic
be
Legacy?
season 1.
That's the question. Which one, though?
Wait, what was the year?
2015.
2015 would be season 1.
Season 1, yeah.
Season 1, yeah.
It's season 1.
I guess that one wasn't that hard then.
Well, the keys that give it away is like you could have just said month to month and
Yeah.
All right, 2010 is where we're going next. The players act as traders trying to get victory points for building a network of offices controlling cities, collecting bonus markets, or when other traders use the cities they control. After controlling a line between 2 cities with your pawns, you can decide to build an office, and maybe also establish control and or get a bonus marker.
oh man. What year was this one again?
This one won in 2010.
I'm almost thinking that has to be that Cole game. Oh, that they did a re-implementation of, and they made 2 different editions of it. One was the original reprinting, and the second one was an updated version.
I know what you're talking about, but
And I
You
think
think
it's
this is brass?
I think it's.
Yeah.
I think it's not brass. Well, you could do either, but I think it's Lancashire. Or I don't remember what they called the re-implementation one.
I don't think it's that.
I don't think I can remember without looking it up, but I'm pretty sure it's either brass or re-implementation of brass.
I don't
But I
think
bet
that's
you-
what it is, though.
Okay, well, I'm going with
I don't
that
think
stuff.
it is
Let's see what
either.
you guys do.
I'm gonna go with Marco Polo again because that's my best guess. It's not brass.
Oh, that's actually not bad. Nathan?
I got another guess that's not remotely right.
Monopoly, right?
Subdivision.
You are all incorrect.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Oh.
This one is Hansa Teutonica.
Oh, Hansa Teutonica. Yeah, I didn't even think of that game. That game sort of like fell off the radar pretty
Yeah.
quick.
All right, so as we're
Name
sitting...
at least one more question that generates points for somebody.
Well, we got one here, so we're going to go with 2020. So in last year's, they actually broke it down from just one award, and they actually awarded it to a light, medium, and heavy game. So we are going to see who wants to try, which one do you guys want to try, the light, medium, or the heavy?
I think I already know the light one, so maybe we'll do medium or heavy.
So let me pull up the medium. All right, so last year here. On an uninhabited island in uncharted seas, explorers have found traces of a great civilization. Now you lead an expedition to explore the island, find lost artifacts, and face fearsome guardians.
I know this. It's the Lost Ruins of Arnak.
I wouldn't have got that.
I would agree with
Sure,
that, but
right.
I haven't played the game, so if
Haven't
it's
yet,
right, Dan
yeah.
gets the point.
Dan, I will give that one to you for sure. You were super confident about that one.
Yep.
All right, so it is tied between Nate and Dan at 5.
I'm falling behind.
So I think we need to get the tiebreaker here, and to do this here, I think the easiest way to go is...
Do the light game, and I won't answer.
All right. So the late game. Crimes have taken place all over the city, and you'll want to figure out exactly what happened. So you need to look closely at the giant city map, 29.5 by 43 inches, to find all the hidden information and trace the trails of those who had it in their foes.
Oh, is this that Micropolis?
I think you just gave it to me. Is it Micro Macro Crime City?
It is Micro Macro Crime City.
I knew it. I just didn't know the actual name of it. Ah.
It's funny that was so popular and then no one talks about it anymore.
So that concludes with Dan pulling out the victory there for our nonsense.
Thank you for doing that, Evan.
Thank you, Evan,
Oh, yeah.
for doing the research. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Board Game Geek Guild 2989, or our website at tabletopgamingguild.com. Don't forget to like, follow, and or subscribe. Tabletop Gaming Guild is a product of Tabletop Gaming Guild LLC. All rights reserved.